We all heard it, think positive and you attract positive things into your life. All good and great, but what happens when you are caught in a negative loop of thoughts and you try to get out of it? In this video I'm gonna share with you the 3 best strategies to get out of your head and back on the positivity train. And I promise none of these strategies is meditation. But first I want to tell you a story and make you aware of one major mistake we all often do. I have this guy in my coaching and he asked this question: how do I stop all these negative thoughts? Sometimes it works and sometimes they overwhelm him. He tried tip number 1, which I'm gonna share with you in a second, and when he did it, he asked himself, why do I have this negative thought? And this paints beautifully why we are often caught in this vicious circle of negative thoughts. You see, if we ask a question, we send our brain on a journey to find answers, and oh boy, will it find answers. Robert Kiyosaki actually talked about this in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad. He was basically raised by 2 dads. His poor dad, an educated man who was teaching in a college, and his friend's rich dad, a self-made millionaire and businessman. He said when his poor dad wanted something, he often found his dad saying something like, I can't afford it. And that was it. But when his rich dad wanted something, he said, how can I afford it? And that is a huge difference. If we say I can or I can't, our brain shuts down. It's a statement. There's no need to change it. Our brain then can save some precious energy. But when we ask a question, our brain goes to find an answer. Hell, questions work so well that I'm gonna prove you now how well they work. I'm gonna ask you something now and you try as hard as possible not to find an answer. To be clear, not the answer counts, but feeling your brain going to look for an answer. What did you have for lunch yesterday? Even for a split second, your brain taps into the memory storage and pulls up a thought about your lunch yesterday. And if that's cool, tell me what you had for lunch yesterday in the comments. I will be posting first. So, questions trigger our brain. But it is important what questions we ask. And the question my client asked why he had these negative thoughts was not so helpful in his goal to stopping them. Because the nature of this question was actually a permission for his brain to keep thinking these negative thoughts. Why do I have these negative thoughts? Oh, yeah, of course. Because I'm always so self-conscious and I'm not funny enough and my clothes look weird and I did this weird thing today. Better ask questions that are aligned with the way you want to feel. Instead of why am I so boring, lame, or why this girl over there will totally shoot me down, ask why am I so awesome today? How is it possible to have so much fun here? Or how amazing will it be to get to know that girl over there? That is the kind of positivity I want to spread on this channel. And if you like that and want to know how to be the most confident next level you that you can become, then help me out here by clicking the like button. It will help YouTube to spread this video more and all this work I put into these videos can be enjoyed by more people. Tip number 1, and the one thing my client did and which is actually my favorite, is the stop meditation. And I know what you think, you promised no meditation, but it's not a meditation per se. The stop meditation is a quick scan through your body. And when you scan your body from head to toe, you're gonna look for things like posture, thoughts, facial expression, emotions. And when you find something that is negative, means that is not helping you being your best self, then change it. It's called stop meditation, but it has actually roots in cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy. By putting your awareness on the stuff that makes you hide yourself, feeling bad or not confident, you give yourself the power to change these things. And when you do that often enough, the things you change become a habit, and habits create your lifestyle. You do that by saying stop at random times a day and then doing that quick scan through your body. Back then I used my phone alarms for this. Every night before bed I set up 4 to 5 different alarms for random times the next day. And when they went off, I did the check. Tip number 2. Be faster. Years ago I gave this workshop in Stockholm where I lived together with a bunch of guys and I taught them how to approach women. And it was the 2nd or 3rd day when we all went from our apartment to that big square. And I noticed that my clients were way slower than I because they were talking all the time. They were talking about the mistakes they did last night and in general the problems with women and why they're so anxious around them. And when we finally arrived at that big square and I told them, okay, be social now, they froze. Because they were in their head all the time, thinking about their problems and boundaries and limitations. They couldn't tap into their charismatic, social, confident self because they were in their head all the time. The opposite of being in the head is being in the body. I told my clients back then that they wouldn't have this problem now if they would have stopped talking about their problems and just walked faster. You ever noticed how you don't think about all your problems after an intense workout? And how free the space in your head feels when you don't think? Because the problem is not negative thinking. The problem is thinking. Thinking is not feeling. You know the stature of the thinker? He does not look happy, does he? How about this? Who's happier, SpongeBob or Squidward? Who do you think thinks more? And on the other hand, you know the saying, ignorance is bliss. And you probably wish to be a bit more ignorant to what happens in the world or your life, so you can be a bit more blissful. So get into your body by walking and talking faster. Tip number 3. Feeling is the secret. This is a vibrational chart and it shows what vibrations different emotions have. And as you can see, emotions like fear, apathy or grief have relatively low vibrations as emotions like joy, peace or love. When we have negative thoughts, we have negative emotions. Small insertion, there's no such thing as a negative emotion. Emotions are just there and every emotion has its function. But when we speak about negative emotions, we often mean the emotions that make us feel bad. Okay, back to the studio. When we have positive thoughts, we have positive emotions. But this works also the other way around. Ask yourself, what does someone think that feels joyful? There is no need to resist what you feel right now. Just be curious, how would it be if you felt happy, grateful? What thoughts would you have? Okay, now you know how to handle the thoughts you have, but what to do with the fear what others might think of you. So do me a favor and click here because I made a whole step-by-step guide on how to stop worrying what others might think of you, and too few people saw this video for the work I put in. So click here and find out how to really not care what others might think of you for good, and I will see you there.